Paul, it's Michael and Don. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, Michael. I was just on the field. It's hot, believe me.
Is it? Now, how does that affect? Does it affect the player? Does it affect the pitcher?
You know what? Hitters love to hit when it's hot. Pitchers, I guess, can get tired. We don't worry. Al will complain about that all night. We'll just talk about how nice it is to hit when it's warm.
Let me ask you about Tanaka. I know that just watching you watch him, you were impressed. What were you most impressed with last night?
Well, I don't think, as you stated, I don't think he had his greatest stuff the first couple innings. But I mean, you're talking about this guy doesn't have his stuff tonight, and he'd given up 1 run, and then all of a sudden he got the lead, and I mean he really turned it on. And then obviously if his pitch count wouldn't have got to that point, he probably would have finished the game out. But he's phenomenal. He's got 3 pitches, and when they're all working, I mean, it's ugly. His split finger is unhittable when he keeps it down, and that's the thing that is really his outpitch.
Yes, right now is showing a montage of the strikeouts, Paul, and he's money with 2 strikes. He's almost unhittable with 2 strikes, and so put yourself in the shoes of the Blue Jays. You've got 2 strikes on it. How do you attack Tanaka?
Yeah, there's certain pitchers you don't want to get to that point. I mean, it's really early, and you saw Reyes yesterday hitting early in the count. I mean, if you can, see something up in the zone early in the count and put it in play, you're going to have much more success than, when he gets ahead. A lot of guys you want to set up to get a certain pitch. He's not one of those the pitchers that you want to get behind.
Now, I asked you this during the game, so I'll ask you here on the radio. Do you think he has the sort of stuff that remains strong throughout the year, or if the more people see him, will he be more hittable?
No, I think that he definitely has the stuff because he has 3 pitches. And, there'll be days where he doesn't have this and he'll go to something else. And he looks like he's smart enough to know, what he needs to go at. And he's going to make adjustments just like players are going to make adjustments. But, when I look back and you talk about, some of the great pitchers, their stuff is good day in and day out, and they're always going to be tough at that. So I have no worries about him whatsoever, having a great second half also.
And he's saving their bacon for sure. This is a below-average team without him, but he doesn't seem to feel the pressure. That's what I hear. He's oblivious to the pressure. When you watch him, what are some of the signs that show you that he doesn't seem to be taken aback by what's going on around him?
Yeah, I mean, he slows down a little bit with men in scoring position, and those are the outs. I mean, good pitchers get those big outs, and you can tell that, he's thinking things out. And you don't see, I mean, if you're watching a television monitor with no score, you don't see any emotion like, hey, I'm in trouble or, hey, I'm cruising. I mean, it's the same thing every pitch. He sets up, he thinks things out, and, a lot of guys are going to try to say they're going to make adjustments. It's a new guy in the league, but he's got a phenomenal split finger. He's got a really good slider, and he's got a above plus fastball. So a guy can pitch, and one thing I know, he can win. I mean, he wins everywhere he goes, and so far here, it's been unbelievable.
Paul, let's talk about the defensive shifts that we're seeing so much of this year. I mean, real drastic shifts that are taking hits away from people. So the metrics are showing the management teams that this is what works. What I don't understand, now, you always use foul line to foul line, but if a guy's a dead pull hitter, and he sees a shift where the entire left side of the infield's open, and there's 20 free hits there for him during the year, is it impossible to do, Paul, to go that way?
I don't think it's impossible. I think that some guys are so set in their ways and never want to, forget that this pitch might be the one I'm going to hit out. But, the game of baseball as a hitter is to hit the ball where it's pitched. And that's the one thing. A lot of these shifts, they don't even pitch to him. I mean, when they shift a guy to a dead pull, they'll still throw him away. So there are times when hits are available, but I think the guys are so into what they do at the plate and trying to drive the ball and trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark that, it's annoying to me that some of these shifts not only take away hits, but they also are taking things away from the defensive end where some double plays aren't turned, some things. So, I don't know if it's here to stay. I think some of the shifts might be, but as drastic changes as we've seen this year, it seems kind of weird.
Also, you want to see home runs, and I'm not saying I want to get back to the steroid era, but baseball wants to see guys hit home runs, and I'm not sure they want to see David Ortiz hit the other way. They want to see David Ortiz go up there and hit home runs. Same with Mark Teixeira. So do you think baseball should address maybe instituting an illegal defense?
No, that goes. I mean, there are times where, where they shift or not, that a home run ties a game or wins a game. Sure, you want David Ortiz trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. But there are times where you're 2 or 3 runs down and leading off an inning where a home run's not going to win a game or tie a game, or you need base hit and you need base runners. So that's going to go, again, with, trying to set up innings and trying to set up the game of baseball. I mean, times to go deep and times to get on base.
Paul, what are you seeing from Brian McCann, who was 0 for 5 yesterday? His average is in the mid-220s. I know that the shift is taking a lot of hits away from him. Do you think he's pressing? A lot of guys come to New York for big money, and they feel that they have to do more.
Well, I think it's always an adjustment. I think that's the one thing that blows you away about Tanaka. He hasn't seen an adjustment. It seems like the league's trying to adjust to him. But coming to New York's a big change, especially at the catcher's position. You're not only changing what you do at the plate, you're also changing the whole pitching staff. I wouldn't be surprised if, he had a big second half. He's a good hitter. His lifetime stats show that. But, he doesn't – it's not a guy that looks like he's moping around and he's down. He's part of what this team's trying to do. And, there's a lot of big hits left in this season. I mean, the team's right in the hunt of things, so – you need offensive players to get hot throughout the year, and second half might be his.
Paul, we were talking about LeBron James not wanting to come to New York and how it doesn't seem like in this era that free agents necessarily want to play on the big bad stage. And we were just talking about McCann and the struggles. Outside of New York, is there a perception that because of the media, because of the pressure from the fans, that maybe New York isn't exactly made for everyone, and does it scare off sometimes the great athletes?
Well, you know what? I don't understand how it could, because if you've lived in New York, or, you've seen the passion of the fans in New York, and you see what it is to win in New York, it's almost worth the extra challenge to see if you can come and help a team win here, because let's face it, not everybody has the opportunity to play for the Yankees or for the Knicks, or these are the Rangers. These are teams that if you win, you're for your whole lifetime you're associated with these teams, because the people in New York don't forget championships.
But you had some trepidation when you were traded here until your dad talked to you. You were not that thrilled about coming here, and then it worked out great. But at the beginning, you were a little nervous.
No, again, it's about kind of that unknown, and you say trepidation. When you're traded, you really don't have any thought. Right. You're going. That's just the way it is. But you don't know what to expect, and that's the thing. And obviously, I was pleasantly surprised, and going to a place at the right time obviously has a lot to do with how you feel about a team. And I had great years here. I was very fortunate to play on great teams. And, now I get to sit up in the booth and watch it, Michael.
And you get a plaque. He's getting a plaque done. Yeah. He's getting a plaque. How cool is that?
That's very cool.
Well, it's quite an honor. Again, there's monument parks in a lot of places, but there's only one that has the names of Garrick and Ruth and things like that. It's the tradition and the names. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to my family, and it's a pretty cool thing. I really don't know how to explain it other than to tell people thanks.
And the cool thing is the plaque stays at Yankee Stadium, because let's face it, if he takes it home, who knows what ends up happening.
It could be under the couch.
It could be under the couch with the other stuff. You're right.
That's right. Now, before I let you go, Paul, on a more serious note, we never got a chance to talk to you when Don Zimmer passed away, and I know you had a really good relationship when you were here, and he was the bench coach under Joe Torre. Some thoughts on Zim?
Immediately it just took me back to sitting out on the bench and just listening to some of his stories and what he had been through. And it just, you talk about, Derek Jeter being kind of the last player to retire from that late 90s charge. And, we lost a part of that, too, because Don Zimmer was a big part of what happened here. And he was a character, but, boy, I tell you one thing, he knew baseball. And he seemed to always bring a smile to a lot of people's faces that I can literally, it takes me back to some of the old stadiums, just sitting out in a day game, listening to his stories about what happened when he played.